Do you ever just have one of those days when you just feel, you wake up and you just feel so different, so disconnected from your own situation, and you almost feel like you can look at your life in a third person perspective, and just the obvious questions come, the obvious thoughts come, just like, what have I been doing with myself? What is this all about? And you really feel like you have foresight, in the sense that you almost feel like you can tell what's coming. I mean, not that I know where I'm going to be tomorrow, but I understand enough about life to know that as I get older, things are going to change, It's just as simple as that. Just being able to think in a different way. Not so wrapped up in yourself and your own thing and your own plans. But it's like, where's this going, And the things I kept thinking about were just, where am I going to be in 30 years? Where am I going to be in 50 years? What am I going to have to look back on? Because now I can look back and see parts of my life that bring me satisfaction. I have memories that make me feel good. But at the end of the day, if I left tomorrow, I wouldn't necessarily feel like I gave myself to the right cause. I didn't do everything right, so to speak. I would have things that I might be regretful about or something. But you see, and here's more or less my point. It's like something in me knows that no matter what I do, no matter what changes, that won't change. I will always look back and in my own thinking maybe can criticize myself. Now, that doesn't stop the fact that on days like this, when you're really thinking about your life, that you kind of see that there are changes and there are practical steps that need to be taken. And I'm just a man just like the rest. I'm not any better, I'm not any holier, not any more perfect. I'm just as broken and fallible as the rest. But what am I investing myself into? And I asked myself this, what am I investing myself into? I talked about this in my last video, but it's like, what is really the thing that captivates me? As a Christian, I'd like to say that it's Christ and it's God. But you know what? It's not always that. I find my comfort right here. Sometimes. I really do. Sometimes I find my comfort through doing this. Because I feel like it gives me some sense of worth. And far be it for me to say, part of me seeks the approval of others, Part of that's healthy and it's a part of life. But the problem is, when change does come, when life does hurt and I need help, there's only one place I can go. And that's the Lord. There's only one place I can go. I know that in front of me is failure, is imperfection, is me being susceptible to giving in to my own weakness. But what I'm learning, at least in this season of my life, this day, is He's sovereign. He overlooks everything. He foresees my life and all of the garbage, and He sees it all. I'm not about to try to be something I'm not before the one who sees everything. But you see, here's how our minds work, okay? And I want you to hear me. This is how our minds work, okay? Whatever information we gather goes up here, right? Whether it's information about God, information about life, mantras about life. I mean, everyone's got a bunch of mantras. You know that you quote a specific phrase. When you're dealt with this moral issue, well, this is what I would do. And there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path, and I'm learning this. Because just because I've encountered God in one way in my past, and I've sought Him in one way, and He responded in that way, doesn't mean I know God. It doesn't mean my heart is actually alive and in His grasp. When, as for me and for many others, it's things like this right here. And you're watching it. This is so not it. You know? I mean, yes, there are so many good things about the good things God's given us through YouTube, through MySpace, through all the different ways that we can network with each other in this digital age with people all over the world. I mean, it's great. But do you know what idolatry is? I mean, in the Bible, I mean, the word idolatry seems really archaic or antiquated for our modern society, so to speak, because idolatry spoke of when people actually made engraven images in things and they worshiped them. But why were they doing it? Idolatry is this, and it's simply this: to go somewhere else to get what you're supposed to get from God, what God promised to give you. That's idolatry. Idolatry is investing yourself in something that cannot save you. At the end of the day, you know, video games aren't going to save me, okay? When I'm in trouble, I can't go to the video game. I can try to hide from my problem in that, but there's something in the knowledge of God that's like, He's the one person that if I have Him in my heart, I can turn around and face my problems, and He's going to help me, and He's going to make it. He promised me that He would make it, that He would make all things work together for good, okay? If I really believe that, I'm not just going to try to do the God thing with my problem and then turn around and run to my false comforts and my false things that I've put up around me. If I really believe that, I'm going to fight and wrestle for that until that is manifest in my life, and I'm not going to settle for anything less. That's wisdom. That is wisdom. God promised you something. He promised you something. He really promised you something. Are you going to wrestle for it like Jacob wrestled with the Lord for his blessing? Are you going to wrestle for it? Are you going to go after God? All right. Christ says all things were put under His authority. Everything. He is the judge over all creation. And He says, you can have anything that you ask of me. You can have anything you can ask of me. And we've asked Him for things and we didn't get them. But where is the person that's going to wrestle for it? Where's the person that's going to say, God, I know you promised this, and I'm going to keep fighting against this thing until I see it. And I'm not talking about our own carnal ambition or any of that. The things that matter in life. And I can tell you there's one thing right now that I at least have a conviction for, and it's this community YouTube. And it's not just because it's how I waste all my time. It's because there's people out there that are desperate for a reality and they're not getting it. They're not getting it. This world's giving them lies. This world is giving them false comforts and instant gratification that leaves them empty, and they want to kill themselves for it. They want to kill themselves. All the overindulgence, it leaves them empty. It's a bad deal. You know, sin feels great at first, but it's a raw deal at the end. It's a raw deal at the end. I just feel so, and you have to keep going downward and downward and downward and giving into it until it has you completely, and then it will kill you. I mean, it'll kill you. When it has you, it'll kill you. Some of us have little things in our lives. I have these things, and it's like I've let these things stay around long enough that if I don't wake up, they are going to kill me. I'm not even worthy to say these words. I really am not, because I am so fallible. But that brings me